On November 30th or December 1st, depending on where you live, we've got a new moon in Sagittarius. This happens at 1:21 a.m. Eastern U.S. time, so calculate that for your own time zone. And this is the first new moon that we're having after Pluto has entered Aquarius for the long haul. So in terms of magic and manifestation, a lot of times they say it takes a new moon to really have the reset of those energies. And so this one brings kind of an expansive energy. Sagittarius is a sign of kind of go big or go home, big travels, higher education, higher learning, philosophy, religion. So we get a lot of that energy, this kind of fresh vibe in the mix. And the Sabian symbol is also supportive. It is Sagittarius 10, we round up. A theatrical representation of a golden-haired goddess of opportunity. So kind of cool. It conjuncts the great attractor, 14 degrees of Sagittarius. And so we get this magnetic pull, this like very strong energy of drawing things to you. So that's in the mix. There is a square to Saturn in Pisces. Saturn's right around 12 degrees of Pisces right now. And so we get a square. It's not exact, but it could slow down some of that manifestation energy. Doesn't mean it won't happen. We've got Mercury retrograde. We've got Jupiter, the ruler of Sagittarius, also retrograde in Gemini. So with Mercury in Sagittarius and Jupiter in Gemini, they're in what's called mutual reception. They're in each other's signs, but they're both retrograde and they're both in the sign of their detriment. So less strong. We could get a little bit of weird energy there. And with that kind of loose square to Saturn in Pisces, we get an energy of the ideas come through. We have a sense of what we want to manifest, but it just might have a little bit of a delay. Because it's Saturn, that delay is likely to increase the strength of our foundation, to bring things into a stronger new balance as soon as they do start manifesting. So with Saturn, you do tend to get some delays, but the delay often leads to delight. So having a little bit of patience could be helpful. That is not the strong point of Sagittarius. Sagittarius likes to be bold and kind of, not be penned in, but at the same time, we would be wise to honor this energy because we're still in quite a tricky patch for the rest of 2024. Next year, we start getting into a lot of new energies, but for the rest of 2024, we're in a little bit of a wonky wobble. So just to keep that in mind, there is kind of a loose grand trine in fire. We've got Mars at 5 degrees of Leo. The U.S. North Node is at 6 degrees of Leo, so that brings in kind of destiny level shifts, destiny level decisions related to the U.S. And then we've got the transiting North Node at 4 degrees of Aries. And so we get this kind of loose grand trine that is supportive of bringing truth out. Sagittarius, very concerned with truth, and not just, my little truth and your little truth, kind of the truth with a big capital T. Like, what is the transcendent truth? What is the real deal? And we're getting that energy with Jupiter in Gemini as well, so it could come out in the form of information overload. You just want to be a little bit careful because one of the downsides of Sagittarius is you can have a tendency to be a little bit dogmatic or maybe boastful, exaggerating. And so while there is this concern about truth, there's also this temptation to make things larger than life, make things bigger than maybe they are. Well, guess what? 2024 energies are already very, very big. There's no need to exaggerate because we've got more than most people know how to deal with it. The nice thing about Mercury and Sagittarius at this time is there's a nice trine to Chiron, transiting Chiron at 19 Aries, and also the US natal Chiron at 20 degrees of Aries. And so with Mercury weighing in, that's a pretty tight trine from Sagittarius. We could get healing information. We could get truth that comes out that helps to ease some of the tension, some of the vitriol, some of the aggressive energy that people have been feeling. Also, maybe truth healing some of the confusion that has been in the mix. So that's a handy thing to know. We've also got a keynote that Dane Rudyard added to that Sabian symbol about the golden-haired goddess of opportunity. And what he says is a keynote: society's efforts at dramatizing the greatness of what it offers to the ambitious person. We see in it how socio-cultural forces operate by dramatization and propaganda. There's that kind of exaggeration. The result is all too often a process of forced growth. So again, we're in it. We are in the mix. We are in the energies of late 2024, preparing ourselves for all of these big changes that happen in 2025. And so the temptation is going to be bold and move fast, but the energies are urging us to be a little more reserved, a little more cautious. Generally, you don't want to start something totally brand new during a Mercury retrograde. Mercury stationed retrograde on November 25th and will be stationing direct on December 15th at the same day as the Gemini full moon. So lots of energy with this Mercury retrograde period. Again, focusing on a lot of truth, focusing on what do you need to know in order to initiate change. Now we've got a couple other things. I'm going to put the chart up here. We've got another more exact grand trine in fire, and this involves Varuna at 9 degrees of Leo. And again, we've still got the US natal north node there at 6 Leo and Mars there at 5 Leo. But 9 Leo is more exact of a trine to this new moon in Sagittarius. And then at 9 degrees of Aries, we've got Salacia. And Salacia is a consort of Neptune. She's very tied in with imagination, with humanitarianism. So kind of in a way goes along with the Pluto in Aquarius energies. But anytime that you hear something like Salacia, even though etymologically there's no connection, it really does sound a lot like salacious. And that kind of ties in with some of these other lawsuits that we've seen, kind of percolating in the background. With Varuna, that's higher wisdom, kind of like the winds of change that rush in, this higher learning, this higher wisdom. And so when you combine all of this with the Sagittarius new moon, you do get this energy of healing through change. I'm kind of hearing sow the wind, reap the whirlwind. We could be, because of the revelations coming out soon, we could be in a time where people's worldviews are undergoing some, whiplash and rapid demoralization, but then building back up. And that's the nice thing about Sagittarius energy. It does tend to be optimistic. It does tend to have an encouraging aspect, desire to expand. And so with this time period, you want to look for opportunities. Also, just to be aware, again, with some of these revelations and lawsuits, Saturn in Pisces will be quincunx Black Moon Lilith in Libra. And so Black Moon Lilith often tied in with narcissistic abuse or sexual abuse, kind of the human trafficking. But in Libra, the idea of lawsuits or romantic relationships, that's where that's probably going to come up more. And then we've got Saturn in Pisces kind of dissolving a lot of structures, but also sort of like that patriarchal energy in a tense quincunx, 150 degrees with Black Moon Lilith. that's a challenge, especially if you yourself tend to be triggered by, men in power or men that have a tendency to kind of lord things over or feel like they're the boss just because of that patriarchal structure. Those energies could come up more around this new moon in Sagittarius. But the nice thing about that quincunx is we've got Pisces, a sign of beauty and harmony and unconditional compassion. And we've got Libra, a sign of love and beauty and the arts. And so some of the stuff that's coming out, some of this truth, is likely to be kind of ugly. I mean, it's just, this is part of the purge. This is part of the humanitarian opportunity coming our way, is to deal with some of the gross underbelly, some of the yucky stuff that nobody wants to look at. But with this energy of optimism with the Sagittarius New Moon and that Pisces Libra quincunx, we may find that it brings enough beauty, it brings enough harmony, enough ability to dream of something better, dream of something more harmonious and beautiful, that it kind of offsets some of the ugliness, because we're able to recognize, okay, it's time to leave this stuff behind, and we have the imagination to come up with something totally new. So we've got a lot happening the first week of December. So again, this new moon kind of poof, all the newness of Pluto in Aquarius. And then on December 2nd, we get Venus trine Uranus and Taurus. So Venus in Capricorn trining Uranus and Taurus. That brings a nice energy of liberation. Venus is also square to the U.S. natal Chiron and transiting Chiron, but a square from Venus oftentimes still brings a kind of harmonious opportunity. You just might have to work a little more to kind of get those benefits. But for the difficulties that are coming up, we've also got kind of the grace of Venus and the healing of Chiron in the mix. Then on December 4th, we've got the exact opposition of Mercury Retrograde in Sagittarius and Jupiter in Gemini, also retrograde. So tight opposition there. And then on December 5th, we've got the Sun in Sagittarius conjunct Mercury Retrograde in Sagittarius. So pay attention to messages that come through at that time, especially if they seem like, oh, that's a change, that's something kind of blunt, so that's something kind of in your face. Do pay attention to that, because with that kind of quick handoff of Mercury retrograde and the Sun, we do get some light of truth happening. And then December 6th, Mars stations retrograde in Leo. This could be a big trigger day. Also, Mercury in Sagittarius, exactly square Saturn in Pisces. Mars often acts early, so I feel like that Mars stationing retrograde energy is going to be kind of pervading the entire first week of December. And then on December 7th, we get Neptune stationing direct in Pisces. So a really action-packed week in early December. Definitely check the urge to be dogmatic or judgmental. That could come up. That's sort of the shadow side of Sagittarius. But overall, lots of energies, lots of opportunities. They may not all pan out instantaneously, but don't get discouraged. Kind of tap into some of that optimism of the Sagittarius energy and see what the rest of this year brings for you. If you don't like it, know that 2025 is going to have radically different energies. We've had kind of the same mix of energies for 2023 and 2024. That really starts to change in January and throughout all of next year. So if you've been discouraged, keep the faith. That's another Sagittarian kind of energy. And I will catch you next time. Peace.